Good morning, everyone. Welcome to online talk with NorthStar community. So glad to be here, and it's always so exciting to be able to share some time with all of us here and on our journey to recovery. That's such a tough but valuable trip for all of us, and it's not easy, but we also know that it is something that we all need to do if we're going to have that rich, full, meaningful life that we all so much want. And of course, unfortunately for many of us, we don't even know what rich, full, meaningful life means. Think about a life living with purpose, getting up in the mornings and having something in your life that's bigger than you, living healthily. You know, I always think about that great statistic they talk about with the Adverse Childhood Experiences Survey, where it says that if you score 6 or more without intervention, you will die 20 years younger than someone who scores a 0. I mean, that if that doesn't compel you to understand how powerful childhood trauma is, then I don't know what else can do that for you. And you know, we know so many people that that they've lived their life so destructively because of childhood trauma, and so you know that's where so many of us are. And we have had tough childhoods, and I know you hear me talk about this a lot, so I don't mean to be too repetitive here, but not only is trauma tough, but abandonment is too. And abandonment sometimes is a little trickier because we don't always understand that or see that because of all the stuff that, you know, kind of normal to us, but our parents never being there, our parents being workaholics, our parents being something, you know, addicts, in affairs, their own traumas, you name it. We've many of us experienced that abandonment, and it is really difficult to see, but it's also very destructive because it tells us again as children that we're not worthy, we're not good enough. So I'm going to read two different verses. Well, I'm going to read a couple verses from you here that I hope this will pull this together for you to make sense to you. Habakkuk is such a great book on telling us that God is in control. God knows what he's doing, though many times I'm just like we've wondered where God is, what's he doing, why is he not here protecting me, why is he letting all this happen to me? And think about for you the trauma. We've all experienced that. So Habakkuk is talking to God. Habakkuk's a prophet, and he's asking God, what are you doing? You're not hearing. And then God comes and answers him, and he doesn't like what he hears, is that God said, I am going to judge Israel because they, again, have turned away. They're living badly, very destructively, and I'm going to use worse people for my judgment. And, of course, Habakkuk is quite confused by that. Then we're going to look at Job again. I'm going to try to tie these together. So here's Habakkuk talking to God. God, how long do I have to cry out for help before you listen? How many times do I have to yell help before you come to the rescue? Why do you force me to look at evil, stare trouble in the face day after day? Anarchy and violence break out, quarrels and fights all over the place. Law and order fall into pieces. Justice is a joke. The wicked have the righteous hamstrung and stand justice on its head. And God basically says, Habakkuk, I'm in charge, I'm God, listen to me. And then Habakkuk goes from questioning God to saying, what do you want me to do? And this is not a book that ends well. I mean, it's a very difficult book. Lots of bad stuff happens to the Israelites, and Job. Sorry, I keep saying Job. And Habakkuk ends saying, you know, we're in big trouble, but we still know God is there, and let's rejoice in that. So that's not easy, is it? So now let's go to Job. And I love the great question: where were you when I did all these things? And what I understand is Job is such a great compliment to Genesis on the creation of the earth. And when you put the two together, the Bible, again, shows extreme accuracy in how the earth was created. So certainly I'm not going to read all of Job to you. And Job's a troubling book. It's one of those that it's hard to understand why God would allow Satan to basically wipe out Job but not kill him. He took away his family, took away his material wealth, he took away everything. And at the end of the day, Job continued to stay faithful. Because Satan said that Job would not stay faithful if he lost everything. And so it's hard, I give you that. But at the other side of this is Job is a fantastic book on creation. And what we want to take from this, we had Habakkuk saying, God, what are you doing? And in Job, God tells us exactly what he did to create the earth. Now, what's important here for us is that God created the earth so that we as humans would have a place to live. So all this creation he did over billions of years is what created earth. And the perfection of earth, just everything having to line up. Where we are, the other planets in the solar system, the moon where it is, the sun, it's perfect size for us. If there wasn't the other planets in front of us and planets behind us, we wouldn't exist. I could go on with stuff about that. So let's just say that God created the earth with us in mind as the outcome. So I don't believe I certainly believe in parts of evolution. I think that we do certainly have survival of the fittest. We have changed over years, which would be another sign of God's genius, that he would make us malleable in some ways. But I don't believe we came from Neanderthals. They're a different species than us. I believe that we are humans created by God. And that's important, because when you're down and out, when you're facing all the addictive stuff you're doing, it's destroying you, destroying people around you, robbing you of purpose, robbing you of connection, robbing you of a life. It's important to try to remember that God does love us, and he created you just as he created me and everyone else. And so we're not losers. I know we love to loathe ourselves and hate ourselves and despise ourselves and all the people around us, but the fact is God created us. And the other thing we have to be honest about is a lot of the problems we're having in our life now are ours. It isn't because of God or the lack of God. It's because we have chosen to control everything. And so that's what God is talking to Job about. He is saying, where were you when I created the earth? Where were you when I set in motion all the awesome things that the earth does as our host? And so, just real quick, the where were you is, this is God talking to Job. Where were you when I created the earth? Tell me, since you know so much. Who decided on its size? Certainly, you'll know that. So then we jump over and that was Job 38. And there's a lot more to that one. And then in Job 40, it says, God addressed Job next from the eye of the storm, and this is what he said. I have some more questions for you, and I want straight answers. Do you presume to tell me what I'm doing wrong? Are you calling me a sinner so you can be a saint? How would you like that one? God accusing you of accusing him of being a sinner. Do you have an arm like my arm? Can you shout and thunder the way I can? Go ahead, show your stuff. Let's see what you're made of, what you can do. Unleash your outrage. Target the arrogant and lay them flat. Target the arrogant and bring them to their knees. Stop the wicked in their tracks. Make mincemeat of them. Dig a mass grave and dig them in it, and dump them in it. Faceless corpses in an unmarked grave. I'll gladly step aside and hand things over to you. You can surely save yourself with no help from me. It goes on, trust me. And Job basically said, I am so sorry. He gets it, right? End of the day, Job did not lose his faith. Job did not quit loving God. But here's all I want you guys to hear today is that God has a purpose for us. God has a plan for us. God took billions of years to create this earth, to make it where we can live. I purposely am doing these talks with Job in mind outside. I got beautiful peach tree right behind me. You can hear the birds singing. You may hear a brook babbling beside me. All these things, these are the beauties of the earth. But there's also so many bad things that happen on our earth in our lives, and so many of us, because with our addictions, because we suffered so much earlier in our lives. But it's up to us to recover. The one thing that I know is God is great. God is the creator of the earth, the universe, everything in it. He created it with love in mind. I believe God is love, and I believe that He has a plan for each and every one of us, and it's much bigger than us. I'm always comforted by being a Christian that I believe that when I do pass away from this earth, so many of the things that don't seem fair, so many things that seem so wrong, so many of the disasters, the sadnesses, the terrible stories that I've heard growing up about things that happen to innocent people or bad people hurting innocent, all those things are just so hard to understand. I really do believe we get to heaven, we're going to go, oh, gotcha, makes sense. I heard a great analogy about how we see our lives in time and how God sees it, and I think there's a really good analogy. Is that picture a very long parade, and the only way we're getting to watch the parade is through a knothole in a wooden fence, so that we can only see the parade as it passes through our knothole as we look through it and see God, on the other hand, is up above. He sees everything, knows everything, and knows exactly what's happening, what has happened, and what will happen in that parade. And I think that's how it is. I think, God is way bigger than our simple concepts of time. But most importantly, each and every one of us are valuable. Each and every one of us can stop living a life of self-hatred and disgust for ourselves. Start figuring out that we're, not so bad, and that we can move on, recover, and be even better people because of the trauma we've had in our lives. I keep reminding you of this. The way you overcome trauma, the way you get on with your life, is that you acknowledge the trauma, you talk about the trauma, and then you start to assign good things to that trauma. Little things that may have made you better. Think about how much more empathetic you are now because of your trauma base. Think of how you appreciate things better, like me sitting in front of this peach tree and just, it's beautiful out here, the birds are singing. Those are things you acknowledge when you've gone through stuff. When you haven't had to deal with stuff, you usually tend not to be as grateful. So I hope this has helped you today. Just to, again, step back and realize that you are special. You were created by God. God is perfect. God knows what He's doing. And again, always ask the great questions. Again, do you believe in God? Yes. Do you believe that God loves you? Yes. Do you believe God has a plan for your life? Hopefully most of you will say yes. Sometimes we're kind of like, I don't know about that one. But let's get out of His way. Let's just get out of His way. Let Him do His thing. Keep praying to Him. Keep acknowledging Him. Go to silence to God. Listen is what we're trying to say here. Listen to God, and then things will get better. I promise you that. And you need support groups. You need professionals. You need people around you to help you overcome your addictions. One of the things that we're going to talk about Friday night, but didn't, was we were talking about how addicts are so good at manipulation. And the most important thing, again, is not only are we good at manipulating others, but we're really good at manipulating ourselves, or bad. How about we're bad at manipulating ourselves? And it creates so many problems. We justify so many things. But the fact is, if you're on here listening to me, you're in recovery at some level. So I pray for each one of you that you can continue to recover. So again, we have our meetings at 6:30 on Wednesdays and Fridays at Walnut Grove Baptist Church at 7046 Cold Harbor Road. If you ever want to talk to me, you can email me at csimpson@wgva.church. So I thank you for joining me today. Have a great week, and look forward to you joining us again later. And you can do it. You can have a rich, full, meaningful life, but it takes effort. So I thank you again. Let's close in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this time, and thank you for this beautiful, beautiful day where you're in it, orchestrating everything. Help us to be mindful that you do know what you're doing, that you are awesome, and that you are a God of love. So help us in our recovery. Also help us to discipline ourselves to do the things we need to recover, and grow our faith that we may continue to hear your word in our lives.